welcome to Between the Posts. It is so good to be back. I'm Tommy Javor, joined by boy genius Jimmy Neutron, Lachie Gould. Lachie, I'm back.
You are back. Thank God you're back here, Tommy.
No, you were great last year. You and the Wizard last week. You and the Wizard. I thought you did a great job, and I enjoyed the show. But I was only going for one game of footy and one bye round, 3 weeks. But plenty has happened, hasn't there? We've had a couple of coaches move on, part ways with their clubs.
Yeah. A couple of coaches have been decided to be moved on, so it's going to be interesting to have a little bit of a look at that.
Yeah, in Division 1, we'll talk about that, and of course in Division 7 as well, it's happened, mate. But what have we got on this week's show?
Yeah, so we've got Div 3, young Alex Kouts. He's a superstar and he's coming in the building very, very shortly. The Div 1 wrap with yourself and the Division 1 wrap with Beck as well for the women's.
Of course, all our regular stuff, we're talking Farmers Leap Coach of the Week, Goals of the Week, and there's an absolute beauty in there this week. Marks of the Week, and of course, Lachie, one of my favourites, What Caught Our Eye, where we look at the 7 divisions. As always, it has been a huge week in footy. Stay tuned, we'll be back with more Between the Posts. It's Division 1 BTR Excavations time. It's great to be here with Lachie Gould. Now, Lachie, just quickly, where were you yesterday? What was your stream team game?
Yeah, we were at Ross Trevor and Golden Grove.
Would you call it an upset?
No, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't? Okay. Well, I mean, Ross Trevor in the 5, they were 2 games clear, but Golden Grove too good. It was Ross Trevor 7-6-48, Golden Grove 12-12-84. Just quickly, the chief goal kickers, Pascoe with 5, Verity and Pilkington with 2 apiece, Lanzoni and Shoot with 2 apiece for the Rocks, Lachie. It was Ross Trevor early by 12 points, but that second quarter, 6-3 to 1 point, the game changed. It was all Golden Grove. Take us through the match flow. Yeah,
so I mean, you basically hit the nail on the head then when you said that Ross Trevor had the 12-point lead at quarter time, and then after that it was Golden Grove who kicked 11 goals to 4. That was
in the last 3 quarters.
In the last 3 quarters, that was where it was won for them, especially in that second quarter. Came out and, as you mentioned, did kick those 6 goals. The highest margins for both teams: Golden Grove 48 points in the 22nd minute mark, and Rocks 12 points at the 25-minute mark of the first. It was actually a behind to Lanzoni that started a run of goals for Golden Grove. So he kicked it behind in the 6-minute mark, and then there were 5 goals at the end of the second quarter for Golden Grove, and that's kind of where they got over the top of the line. And that's Div 1 footy in a nutshell. You make a mistake, and I didn't see Stefan's shot, but teams can punish it, and I saw it yesterday as well with Port District. It's a red-hot competition with such quality across every team. Let's have a look. Now, the player you've been looking at, of course, is named after yourself, Lachie Pascoe, number 24 for Golden Grove. An outstanding game from him. Just take us through the way he went about it. Yeah, it was absolute bullying, to be honest, in that forward line. He was all over him, able to clunk marks on a wet day as well. Incredibly impressive with his hand, and he's a really good footballer. Yeah, as I said, if Ross Trevor had won this, Golden Grove could have been as much as 2 to 3 games outside of the 5 and multiple percent. They've caught up the percent. They're 1 game off, and they are ready to strike, pounce. The Kookaburras, watch out, they are coming. Just some of the better players that don't get in the votes. For Ross Trevor, Ryan Lynn, Darcy Best, Butcher, and that man in the midfield, Wharton. Whilst for Golden Grove, Connor Hillcott, Josh Glenn, and Dylan Pilkington were all very, very good. But the votes you handed out for our e-bikes High Five Player of the Year. Yeah, so 3 votes to Lachie Pascoe, no real surprise there. 2 to Jake Pittman and 1 to Michael Cavallaro as well. Yes, great job there by those players, and it would be fair to say there are 6 teams very, very much still in the window for this year's flag, although who's going to catch Port District. But there's also another team called Glenunga who maybe might just consider themselves a chance, and then Payneham are winning as well. But anyway, let's have a look at the games rather than speculate too much. Our next game is at Park 9, PAC 8-7, PNU 8-11, 59. Let's take some ownership here, Lachie. We talked about premiership windows and who's still in it. PAC, your boys you tipped to make the grand final, are they still in it? PNU.
Of course, I did tip them at the start of the year. I said Port versus someone and landed on PNU. I got that wrong. They're coming. And obviously a goal makes such a big difference. I'd say these two teams are probably more concerned with fighting for relegation than looking at playing in grand finals and finals at this stage. Goal kickers for PAC, McHenry and Gales with a brace, Viney with 3, Rahui with 2. And she was a close game all day, mate.
Yeah, she was a close game. They really did stick with them there, PAC, but it was PNU's kind of inaccuracy that kept them in the game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was at half-time. Lots of shots missed, and the good old PNU past players, they name the players on their site when you're missing shots, so I always enjoy that. 4 lead changes throughout the day. The lead no bigger than a goal at any break, but it was a 3-goal burst at the start of the third quarter that got PNU the chocolates, and they were able to hang on in the end. Let's move straight into the better players. Business as usual, PAC, Pitt, Jolly and Dean, whilst the PNU, Viney, Morris, Mac Daddy, Haynes, Anna Roberts. But the votes, please. Jimmy Neutron.
Yeah, you can get that done for you. 3 for Fraser Greaves, 2 for Maddie Nunn, and 1 for that man, Craig Pitt.
Yeah, and on that, Fraser Greaves winning the ruck is so crucial because when we were commentating last year's final series, it was Payne's midfield that really got them winning games, getting on top. So if he can give first use to Maddie Nunn and these types, PNU look a lot more dangerous like we were expecting throughout the year.
Yeah, they look like a team that we saw last year, don't they, when they start to win the midfield battle.
Yeah, the slow start has been curtailed and they've just got to keep on winning. Let's move on to the College Classic, and look, you've got to call it an upset, but not an upset in my books. St. Peter's 13-8, 86, Shock 8-2, 50, a 36-point win there to St. Peter's. Our player in footage is number 12, Mal Carruthers. Speaking of Mal Carruthers, Lachie.
Yeah, there was a bit of a jag meatworks. Have a look at this.
Just one goal in this quarter for either team going the way of Sacred Heart, so low scoring.
Oh, Carruthers, Lachie Carruthers.
Lachie Carruthers with a great effort there. Could be the snag.
That is definitely snag of the day worthy.
Yeah, lovely snag of the day there from Mao. He was outstanding, number 12. Again, Spock actually controlled the game all day, leading by 3, 17, 48 and 36. And it was that third quarter, 6-2 to 1-1. It is official now. They are announced. St. Peter's are a genuine premiership contender.
Yeah, they spoke about it all pre-season, going up there and having a chat to Mike O'Leary. I think I've spoken about it on the show before, but he said we're in this for the hunt. We're not in this to just survive like they were last year, and now it's finally starting to come good.
Yeah, I've seen them firsthand, and they are outstanding. They're some good players, and they're galvanised. They all came in for a beer afterwards. They're doing all the right things, and to Mike O'Leary, Guy Roberts, and everyone who's worked so hard across a period where they've had to battle relegation. They are now at the other end of the table, and everyone's on notice. This team is for real. Better players who don't appear in the votes: Ty Bedford, Belpera, and Charlie Allen for Spock. Whilst for Shock, Ethan Moore, Bone Crusher McRae, and little Luke Dewhurst. But the votes, please, mate.
Yeah, I'll give you 3 guesses at who ended up at the 3. That's Mal Carruthers, Ed Allen with the 2, and 1 for Jimmy Higgins.
Yeah, they've kept their whole list together and added to it beautifully. Competition, you're on notice. St. Peter's are the real deal. All right, next up was a really, really good game of footy. Obviously, I saw it firsthand. It was Salisbury North 6-10-46, Port District 12-14, 86. The player in footage is... Have a guess who it is.
I think it's Cooper. You had something to do with this.
I had
Cooper Gaffney. You got involved in the vote somehow, Tommy.
Number 25, Cooper Gaffney. I actually had to... Quick funny story. Everyone loves a funny story. 3/4 time, there was a set of lights that was impeding the umpire's vision. I had to run across the oval and get a certain set of lights turned off on a car because the cars park all around the oval. And I ran back and the game was kind of held up. And as I ran past, I said, "Hello, Coop." He said, "Hi, Tommy." And that was it. It's not much of a story, but it's a good story.
Bit of a fangirl moment.
Well, it was. He's a bloody good footballer. Unfortunately, I enjoyed watching him play, and you want to see the best player. He had 40 touches yesterday, and we couldn't stop him. And Port District, the band's back together. They got the full list. Again, their whole team came in for beers afterwards. That's the kind of club they are. And I had a long chat with Rama, and yeah, they have the complete list. Maybe one player pushing for selection, but they all came back. Salisbury North just happened to get them when they're at full strength, and they were outstanding. But don't let the scoreboard fool you. It was not a one-sided affair. Salisbury North led by 13 points at quarter time and by a point at half time. I then went in and took their committee out to lunch, put it on the spread, came back and they brained us. Sure, that's when you do nice things. But it was only 15 points at 3/4 time. Salisbury North getting as close as 8 points down towards the end of the third quarter, but they were just too strong in the end, running out by 38 points. And after quarter time, it's a bit of a damning stat, 10-12 to 2-7. They were just in full force Have you seen Port District firsthand this year, mate?
Yeah, a couple times seen Port District firsthand. I was there for their loss originally, and they were pretty good
Sacred
that day.
Heart?
Yeah,
Yeah.
at Sacred Heart, they
Yeah.
were pretty good that day on the 26th of April. But after that, we watched them play Glenunga, and they absolutely dominated.
Yeah, it's interesting. They've actually said they've lost one game they probably should have won. Statistically, it says they should have won that game, but they own the fact that St. Peter's in round one, they absolutely stole that with a Scotty Lysette classic last quarter. Yeah, you can't help but be impressed by the squad. It is super. I mean, I don't know the exact stat. I think it's something around 1,300 games of SANFL and AFL experience. There's incredible quality on every line. And yesterday, when it was wet all day, the big strong bodies, Lysette, Gray, Sharrod, Niskahus, just too good in the end. Some of those goal kickers, only 2 goal kickers for Salisbury North. Matty Sharp kicked 3 and Hellbout kicked 3, while support Tommy Carter here was great. He kicked 4 and Nisko kicked 2. Very clever footballer indeed. Matty Gale's notes, it was Port's midfield stoppage work and structure that got the job done. They simply are an outstandingly well set up and well coached team.
Yeah, they are. They're incredible, Port District. There's nothing really more you can say about them. They're now premiership favourites from mine.
I think they've been premiership favourites all year, and we're just trying to work out who they're going to play in the big dance, because now they can actually control and dictate terms. They're on top. They've got, if they drop a game, it doesn't matter, but they're just so well set up. One thing I say for Salisbury North, really, really brave effort, but they haven't played a team that's punished the mistakes like Port did. They kicked some goals, they pulled them out of their wazoo. Some of the goals they kicked yesterday were unbelievable, and you just got to tip your hat and say, well done, too good. For Salisbury North, better players, Richard Cowhay continues an excellent season, Ant Hellbout, Geordie O'Brien, the captain, I thought was outstanding, and Dom Costanzo, while support Jack Gaffney, Louis Sharrod, Gray. I've mentioned Niskus as well. He kicked 2 crucial goals when they needed him, and he was, yeah, he's a very, very good team leader and a good guy. Let's have a look at the votes, please, mate.
Yeah, 1, Tommy Carter, 2, Scotty Lysette, and 3, I'm still convinced you had something to do with this, Cooper Gaffney.
All I want to do when I go to Div 1 games is see good games of footy. I saw another great game of footy yesterday, and I've seen what I consider, people had sort of said Port District maybe not as good as the Port District last year. They're better. They're actually better.
There you go.
Yeah. Our last one, mate, Broadies taking on Glenunga. It was Broadies 7-9-51, Glenunga 13-11-89. Our player in footage is Dec Fay. He's a super midfielder, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's getting it. He's going to be an absolute superstar. Really competent Division 1 player.
Yeah, he played some league footy at North, and just on the actual notes on Dec Fay from Phil Herden. How good are Phil Herden's notes? You read Phil's notes?
Yeah, I got an email last night. All of them absolutely pristine.
His ball use and ability to impact a contest is second to none. He was the best midfielder on the day. Some of the goal kickers, Mitch Marini kicked 3, Parsons Davis, and the return of the cockroach Nick Wunke. They all kicked 2. Whilst for Broadies, it was PJ Carlin and Josh the Whiz Byrne, both with a couple. Let's look at those margins. It was 32, 23, 49 and 38. You'd suggest that Glenunga controlled it all day, and 16 of the 20 goals kicked to the southern end. Just speaks to the conditions of the day, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. That's just the wind playing a factor.
Yep. It was 3 goals in the first 5 minutes, which was a dream start to the new coach. So I'll throw to you now, mate. I guess we need to have a bit of a conversation. Interesting enough, isn't it? A club and a coach parting ways in round 7.
Yeah, especially when the coach was hired, I guess, kind of off the back of a long successful stint as an assistant coach, and then after that, he kind of took over, had 7 games in charge, and they decided to part ways. Glenunga saying that with the bye, it was the perfect time to move on. Yeah, it was. So, look, we wish Alex Guy all the best. It's unfortunate circumstances for him, but he's a successful businessman and a good guy, pardon the pun. He'll move on and he'll have other gigs, and he'll take what he's learned from Glenunga, no doubt, and even be even better. So we'll talk about now Sam Smith, the new coach. Sam Smith being, he's got a great team around him. So Jason Froggy Rivet, former South Australian under-18 state championship winner. He's a very good coach. Michael McMahon stepped into the coaching ranks. Obviously, he's done his Achilles. He's out for the year, so he'll be part of it. And then of course there's Sammy Abel who does the B grade. So there's a good team around Sam Smith to help him thrive. Sam Smith himself, another highly credentialed player, had something like 4 knee reconstructions and just went, you know what, that's enough. So we wish him all the best in his coaching, and a win first up. He would have been absolutely thrilled. Yeah. Well, I don't know what it's called in Australia, but in England it's called the new manager bounce. So potentially he had a bit of a bounce there, and is able to waltz into next week's challenge. And I did speak with him briefly during the week and wished him all the best. And happy for him to have a win. Interestingly, again, looking at Phil's notes, I want to use them because they're so good. Broadview were 3 goals 3 at one point, and they went to 3 goals 9. They kicked 6 points behind in a row.
and we talked about it in the other games, you can't kick points when there's goal opportunities in Div 1 because ultimately it's almost like a 2-goal turnaround, you get punished.
Yeah, you do, and 6 behinds really at this level isn't good enough, and that's probably what led to the loss in the end.
The votes, please, Jimmy Neutron.
Yeah, so 1 vote, Tom Carlo Cetus ended up in the votes, 2 votes to Ethan Smith, and 3 votes to Declan Fay.
Yeah, for me that just talks to the fact that all 3 of those, especially Smithy and Fay play midfield, they obviously controlled it at the source, and that's where they've won the game.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how the cookie crumbled.
Sure does, and it's just interesting, isn't it? Payneham and Glenunga maybe not quite done with yet, both just starting to find a little something. Now it's e-bikes, high five e-bikes player of the year, and all we're going to do is we're going to announce who the leader is. Who is the leader, please, Lachie?
Golden Grove's superstar Jake Pittman leading it pretty comfortably at the minute.
Yeah, in the midfield, under the umpire's noses. I call him the pig dog because he just nestles in there. He's a super footballer, and he's the man to catch. If you want to ride your $5,000 e-bike. All right, now the ladder. It does make for some interesting reading. Thank you, young John Goodman. Get that up for me. Port District 7-1, Spock 6-2, Shock 6-2, Salisbury North 5-3. This is where it gets real interesting. Rocks 5-3 on 50.98, Golden Grove 4-4, 51.91. The Kookaburras are coming.
Yeah, they are. The Kookaburras are absolutely flying at the minute. Can they keep it going? They've got to keep winning games of footy though, Tommy.
Yes. Glenunga 3-5, PAC 2-6, and again, PAC, PNU both 2-6, and about 1.3 percentage difference. Every goal is crucial at this stage. Broadies 0-8. I tell you what, makes some interesting readings and leads us into a very, very interesting round coming in now because these matches could change the ladder order. We'll start with Broadview and Spock at Broadview.
Yeah, that'll be Broadview that lose that game. I think St. Peter's will get the win there. Just wanted to change things up.
Yeah, St. Peter's will win and they'll win by about 10 goals. I'm not being disrespectful. I'll tell you why I'm giving that tip in just a minute. Sacred Heart and Salisbury North. Oddly enough, this one is at Mitchell Park, just because of college clashes. So does that take away the home ground advantage? I hope so. But we'll see. Your thoughts, mate? Sacred Heart coming off 2 straight losses.
Yeah, Sacred Heart coming off 2 straight losses. Salisbury North himself coming off a loss. I think both teams are going to be pretty angry out there. I'm going to back Sacred Heart at home in quotation marks, but only just.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's a somewhat neutral ground, I'm gonna tip Salisbury North to, and I don't normally do this, I'm always very reserved, just to bounce back. Very good against Port, just Port are that good last week, but be a very, very tough game. Either way, it'll be very close. Golden Grove and PAC at Harpers Field.
Yeah, this one's going to be a great game of footy as well, but I'm going to go with Golden Grove, get the job done here by about 5 goals.
Yeah, I think probably agree with you spot on. It's Port District and Ross Trevor at Country Living's home reserve.
Yeah, yes, it's going to be a great game of footy, this one here. I think Port District will get the job done, though. Only just. I think Ross Trevor will be pretty angry after last week. Yeah,
I saw Port firsthand, and with the team, everyone on the park at the moment, I can't see them losing games. So Port District. And this last one is huge. It's PNU and Glenunga at the Falconry. And, I mean, this has got so many connotations about it. If you want to play finals, you need to win this. You want to avoid relegation, you need to win this. PNU and Glenunga, this is hard to tip.
I'm going to go with an upset. I'm going to tip Payneham.
Yep, Payneham, of course, good win on the weekend against Broadview. Glenunga with the new coach. I wouldn't have a clue who's going to win this, if I'm being honest. I'll take Glenunga just, but again, wouldn't be surprised if you've got this one right. Now, we talked about it earlier on in the episode, mate, and I'm going to put it on the line now because I'm not always sure if I can be in every week anymore with some of the health issues I'm having. So I got it wrong at the start of the year. PNU playing Port District. I've seen every team bar Sacred Heart. But I've done my research. I'm going to tell you right now who's playing in the grand final this year. I've seen enough to know. Now, things can change. You ready?
Hang on. You've said things can change, but you're saying this is 100% who's going to be playing in the grand final.
It's not 100%. This is based on I've been around for a little while. This is what I've seen, the 2 best teams in Division 1. This is who's going to play in the grand final.
Okay.
Port District will play St. Peter's.
Yeah, okay, wow.
Write it down so you can you're at St. Peter's, come out and get done now. Yeah, no, their lists are unbelievable. The structure and the way they're playing is brilliant, and probably just giving Sacred Heart a bit of ammunition for this week to come out. But yeah, just the way they're travelling, and speaking to other coaches as well, they are the 2. And you know what? I just realised they're 1 and 2 on the ladder now, so it doesn't appear that big a tip. But when St. Peter's coming from the relegation zone in the last few years to do what they've done, they've taken a big step. Any chance that you want to throw? A question without notice. You want to throw yours out there, Lachie?
Yeah, let's go with. I'm going to tip Port District, and I'm going to tip Port District to win it. And I will take shock up against them in the grand final.
Yeah, not unreasonable there at all, mate. You're obviously banking on some shock. Just to that one thing they're going to do is win some finals, and I think they'll probably do that this year, but I'll take St. Peter's instead. This has been the Div 1 report, and we've put it on the line. We've made the big call. We'll see how it lands. Thanks for joining us. We're back next week with more Between the Posts.
Do you belong in a role that drives you? In a community that makes you proud? In a team that brings out your best? You belong in blue. Apply for a career with South Australia Police.
Well, hello and a big welcome back to the BTR Excavations Division 1 Women's Wrap. I hope everyone enjoyed their week off footy and rested up those injuries and just enjoyed a little bit of a break. Now, I spoke a bit in our mid-season review, which I'm sure you all watched, about how important these first few games back would be for some teams in Division 1. So it's time to find out what went on in round 8. We had some massive clashes this week. The top 4 were all playing each other. I was, really excited to see how things went here. Maybe these are some finals previews. So let's see how this all played out. Now we'll start off with Happy Valley versus Henley. Now going in, Happy Valley was second and Henley were third. And how the tables have been turned after Happy Valley won by 3 in round 1. Henley have had their revenge and swapped places on the ladder with Happy Valley with a 46-point win to the Sharks. Now, I said in the mid-season review that Henley really need to back themselves and challenge themselves to get in the top 2, and they have absolutely done that here. And it's a big turnaround, as I said, from that round 2 clash. Now, at quarter time, it absolutely looked like game on here, as you'd expect in this game between second versus third. Scores at quarter time break were 12-16 Henley's way, so only 4 points in it. But Henley absolutely took off, went to another level with a 3-goal second term and just kept going. And they also managed to hold Happy Valley to those 2 goals from the first term. It literally was a fight for second spot, and Henley said, yes, we will absolutely take that with a big win. And with a big win from Henley, we have to check on our friend Tegan Dunbar. And of course, she's done it again. I don't even have to say it, but today she has got 5 goals. Her 3rd bag of 5 or more for the season. The girl is absolutely on fire. Now, it wasn't just Tegan on the scoreboard. Also, Ellie fixed a kick too. Demi Bates, Shannon Murphy also kicked a goal as well. And their best on was Hayley Conlon. Look, as the score shows, it just wasn't the day for Happy Valley, and this does put them into 3rd spot. But of course, they're still in the top 4, still up there ready for finals. And they are actually even on points with Henley. It's just their percentage that's taken a little bit of a hit. So there's plenty of time to just reset and focus. As we know, it's only the first game of this second round of games playing each other. So they just need to keep getting on with things, stay in the top 4, and we know they're a very strong team and will absolutely respond. Now, the next game in our top 4 clashes, 1 versus 4, Payneham versus Morpheville Park. Now, how did this one play out? Well, Payneham 7-6-48 defeated Morphe's 5-3-33, a 15-point win to Payneham. So yes, of course, they remain undefeated and just carrying on their merry way. And the damage was all done in the first half, where Payneham got out to a 20-point lead at halftime and really just held things from there. Morpheville Park did fight it out in the 4th term and ended up winning that last quarter, but it was just not enough to stop Payneham getting their 8th straight win. Now, I have to get straight into the goal kickers here for Payneham, because when I was looking up their scores, I saw something I liked immediately for Payneham. Now, if we had the budget, I'd probably get, Back in Black playing now as I start talking about this, because I'll tell you who is back, and it is Chelsea Packer. Her first game since round 2 for Payneham. And, if you thought Chelsea would say, no, I'm going to take it easy, my first game back, absolutely not. 5 goals, absolute queen stuff from Chelsea Packer. She will be loving me talking about this on the show as well. But it wasn't all about Chelsea. There were goals also to AD, Adrian Davies and Chloe Samuel. So real classy operators from Payneham on show, getting it done as usual. And a big shout out, of course, to Zoe Proud because she was named best on for Payneham for her performance. For Morphees, although they didn't win, goals came from everywhere. All individual goal scorers: Brooklyn Kraft, Melinda Speechley, Caitlin Swanson, Julia Watson, and Gianna Jay-Z Zarella. So all hitting the scoreboard there. Their best was Tamsin Morris. Now, whilst this was, of course, a loss for Morphees, they definitely showed that they are in touch with the top teams. As I said, they managed to win a quarter and it wasn't a massive loss. There are definitely positives to be had here for Morphees. And, they, like I said, did really well in that fourth quarter. Now, moving on to a close one at Harpers Field where only 5 points separated Golden Grove and Broadview. And it was Broadview who took the points, 4-7-31, defeating Golden Grove 4-2-26. A game that Broadview probably could have put away a bit easier with 11 scoring shots. They were a little bit inaccurate, but they get the win and that's all that matters. And it was not without a fight back though from Golden Grove. After being held to a point at half time, they really found themselves in the second half, including a 2-goal fourth quarter where they held Broadview to just a point. But it wasn't enough for the win, so Broadview got their second win for the season and their first win since round 1. As I said, not their most accurate day, but a win is a win. Golden Grove, let's have a talk about them. Well, for their review, I said they just need to keep their heads up and keep fighting out the season. And I think they really have done that here. As I said earlier, they fought back really well in the second half of this game, which is a plus. And, turned around from their last game versus Broadview, where they lost by 76 points. So to lose only by 5 this time is a massive turnaround. It is, of course, not still a win that they wanted, but I think there's plenty that they like that would have come out of this game. And then our last game of the round, it's between two teams in that mid-ladder area that are just fighting it out for the fourth spot. There's just so much going on in the middle of the ladder, which we'll talk about later. But the two teams here, Goodwood and Hectorville. And it was the Saints with the important win by 8 points. Goodwood 4-8-32 defeated Hectorville 3-6-24. And as we'll see shortly, it is just so tight in that midsection of the ladder. So it was a huge game for both teams. So Goodwood get their second half of the season off to the right start that they wanted. Led by captain Emma White, who kicked 2 goals. And real captain's game there from Emma. Emma Chappell and Jess Trier also contributed with a goal each. And well, my girl JC, she was having a day out. She was also best on ground for the Saints, leading the way to victory. For Hectorville, well, their goals came from 2 to Taylor Roberts and 1 to Grace Whitaker, with Rosie Boone the best on. Now, Hectorville would be a little bit disappointed with this one because the win here was what they needed. Probably let down by a little bit of a slow start. They went down in the first quarter 1 point to 17, so it is always hard to come back from that, and especially in the conditions that were going around town yesterday. But we have seen that Hectorville can match it with the best teams in the top 4, so they just need to go back and get a win next week. Now that takes us to the ladder, and things are getting so interesting here. Now, it was, of course, Payneham out and about at the top, 8 and zip, good percentage. They're just absolutely flying. We've talked about this week after week. Henley now pushing themselves up to second. They've got the best percentage in Division 1, so that will definitely come in handy as we get into finals contention. Happy Valley now, of course, down into third as we discussed, so they need to work on that percentage in the next few weeks. And then we've, of course, got this midsection of the ladder. Morphees, Goodwood and Hectorville all on 4 wins and 4 losses, and it's just coming down to that percentage in that area of the ladder. So the next few weeks, absolutely crucial for all of these teams. And then rounding out the ladder, we've got Broadview and Golden Grove. But it is going to absolutely be on for young and old in the next few weeks in Division 1, so I can't wait to see how things play out here. Now, we'll take a little bit of a look across some of the other divisions of the Adelaide Footy League women's competition. Now, in Division 2, I've seen something I like here, and that is Anglevale. They still remain undefeated. So they're just cruising along, living their best life, Anglevale. And of this week in round 8, they cracked the ton, kicking 102. So they had a great win against Lachie, just, as I said, going along very nicely. And in Division 4 as well, we find ourselves with another undefeated team, Modbury. They're killing it as well. So, this late into the season, still got undefeated teams as well. So, doing great. Now, Division 6 as well, whilst there are no undefeated teams, I've got to update you on the absolute goal town that is Seaton. Grace Grierson has absolutely done it again. She's kicking goals left, right and centre. Now, she's sitting on 33 for the season, which is huge, but she's kicked these in just 6 games. So I don't know what's going on down at the Seaton Ramblers, but their goal kicking is just absolutely elite. So they're doing well there down at Seaton. So plenty going on in the women's footy space, and as I always encourage people, go down and watch your local team. You will see some awesome footy, some great girls in action. Well, that's it for another week of our women's footy wrap. Thanks for watching and celebrating women's footy with me. I'll see you next time.
And it's time for our Farmers Leap Coach of the Week. It comes to us from Div 3, and it is the coach of the Pembroke Kings, Charles Canny. Charles is listed as very calm and a great communicator. He is a former player. His form in the last 3 weeks has seen Pembroke go from 7th to 4th, and they are on the way up the ladder. They knocked off top place Foss Camden on the weekend by 52 points. He is turning, making every post a winner, Charles Canny. Congratulations, you're our Farmers Leap Coach of the Week. Welcome to Between the Post. I'm here with the new Division 3 expert, debuted a couple of weeks ago. Welcome to the show, the great man, AK-47 Alex Kouts. How are you, mate?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good. You did a great job first up a couple of weeks ago. Now, I don't know if the story's been told. You are, of course, a 2024 Premiership player for the Woodville West Torrens Eagles in wheelchair footy.
I love it. It's amazing to win a premiership, especially in wheelchair footy, and I kicked the goal in the grand final, so even better.
Beautifully done, and I got to compare that and MC that, and I absolutely loved it. Well done to all the Eagles, TJ and the team. They're good guys, aren't they?
Absolutely. First game on Friday, so.
Oh, and that's of course at the Lights Community Centre.
At the Lights,
yeah. Every time I go past Izzy and Izzy say, we're going to go watch Alex play. They love watching you play, mate. So, all right, check that one out. But let's have a look at some Div 3 footy, mate. You've come in as our expert. You started a couple of weeks ago. You've been outstanding. What happened on the weekend, please, mate?
Well, there were some big round 8 results, including one that probably shocked a lot of people. Pembroke upset Foss Camden by 52 points, 12-10-82 to 4-6-30. And surprisingly, Foss's leading goal kicker was Dannon Blacker, and he kicked 3 out of their 4 goals, while Darcy McRosty for Pembroke kicked 5. They basically won the game in the first half, kicking 7 goals to 2 and then 4 goals to 1 in the last.
Yeah, Coach Charles Canny doing a great job at Pembroke, and interestingly enough, when I did the Div 3 report a month ago, Pembroke have gone from 7th to 4th. They're now 5-3, 3 wins in a trot, and they're looking very dangerous. I'll talk more about Pembroke later on. What's our next game, mate?
The next game was Scotch Old Collegians versus Kilburn. Now, This was a very close one. Kilburn are very dangerous with a 4-4 record and a big percentage for their spot on the ladder. They are currently 6th. And they beat Scotch with not the best accuracy. It was 8-15-63 to 6-10-46 in a wet weather footy game. Kilburn won by 17. Scotch, they didn't have any multiple goal kickers. It was a 6-way tie for the leading goal kicker, while for Kilburn, Michael Howson and Sean O'Dwyer kicked 2. Kilburn played with very good consistency, kicking 2 goals to none in the second quarter.
Yeah, of course, Stixie wears the long sleeves, a 4 or 5-time premiership player. And a big shout out to Kilburn's Benny Wiles, who's out for this season. He kicked a lot of goals. Hopefully he's doing well, mate. Let's have a look at the next one, please.
It was only Mercedes Jets taking on Hope Valley, and I thought this was definitely expected to happen. It was 51 points going the way of Unley. They are now 6-2 and second on the ladder with the highest percentage, so they're the favourite to jump Westminster for top spot at the current moment. And their leading goal kicker for Unley was Jake Sutcliffe with 4, and for Hope Valley it was Jagger Lambropoulos and Ryan Gap with 2 each. Unley, they didn't really have any dominant quarters, but they won every single quarter.
Yeah, they're a super consistent team. They're led by former Eagles player Jake Sutcliffe, mate. They were my tip to win this year before pre-season started, and they've got some challenges, but nothing they're doing you could consider would take me away from the thought that they're going to be there when the whips are cracking. Next one, please, mate.
The second last game of the round was Edwardstown and Westminster. This was probably the game of the round, and Westminster won by 23 points. Leading goal kicker Josh Holiday only got 1, so they had a 6-way tie for leading goal kicker, along with it was Scotch Old Collegians against Kilburn. And then for Westminster, it was Nicholas Leck and Elliot Viles who kicked 2. Westminster, they won the game by kicking 2 goals 7, which is basically 3 goals, to 1 goal 1 in that last term.
Yeah, Westminster, they are the real deal. They currently sit top, and interesting, and when we look at the ladder, we'll cover this more, but Edwardstown in the last month have gone from 1st to 7th. It's a fair slide.
Yes. And last one, but definitely not least, Seaton and North Haven. Now, I did predict Seaton to win this. That tip did not go right. North Haven won by 38 points. In the middle of the game, second and third quarter, North Haven kicked 6 goals 6 to 1 goal 2. Leading goal kicker of Seaton, it was Jackson Paddock and Kyle Gatt with 2 goals. And for North Haven, Lindsay Thomas kicked 4.
Of course, the former North Melbourne star, left-footed genius that was Lindsay Thomas. Interesting set of games there, mate. And now the ladder, and I mean, I'm not just saying this because you'll hear it, the Division 3 ladder is as interesting a ladder as you can see, and we'll have a bit of a deep dive into that now, mate. Take us through the ladder.
The ladder is absolutely insane. Westminster have up 1 since the June review, and they are now first on the ladder with a healthy percentage of 58. Unley Jets, 6-2 record. They're probably the most dangerous team in the league right now, nearly at 60%. Foss Camden, they're down 2 spots from last week. That's big for them. They need to go on a winning streak with a 57%. Pembroke, you spoke with their coach, and they're now 5-3, up 1 on the ladder, 56%, so they're healthy. North Haven, they need to up their percentage, but they're in the 5, they're 5-3. Only have a percentage of 50, so that's not the best for them. Kilburn, they are the most dangerous team that are on their spot. 6 on the ladder, 56.8%. That is outstanding. Now, Edwardstown, as you said before, Tommy, they were first earlier in the year, and just to think that they're now 7th on the ladder, they could even get relegated. Who knows? They're 4-4, 53.3%. And they do have the leading goal kicker, Josh Holiday, with 27. He only kicked 1 goal this week, but his best game was in round 5 against Seaton. He kicked 7 goals, so that is outstanding. Seaton Ramblers, I drove past them on the way here. They're 3-5, 42.5%, so they're going to be fighting for the 5, but also trying to stay out of relegation. Scotch Old Collegians in 9th place. They're 1-7. Their only win coming against Hope Valley in round 2. And they have a percentage of 40.6, so their goal for this season is definitely just to stay out of relegation. And Hope Valley, unfortunately for them, 0-8, haven't won a game, so it's not looking good for them. They're most likely going to get relegated down to Div 3. 4.
Alex, your cross-referencing and your research is simply outstanding. I can't help but look at a month ago because it tells us the tale of the last month. And as we mentioned, Edwardstown have slipped from 1st to 7th. There's 7 teams genuinely would consider themselves still a premiership threat. Even Unley, they were in the last month, they've gone from 5th to 2nd. You talked about Foss going from 1st to 3rd. It's fluctuations all over the place, but I'm going to just focus a little bit on Pembroke because they're the team for me that's really caught fire. It was actually, I'm not going to name the player I spoke to, but I spoke to one of their players, not their coach, and just they've got things working really well. Oliver Harms at fullback, the captain, outstanding. Magnus Illman, the midfielder, doing great things, and Nick Dinham at full forward, very, very dangerous. They play a contested and combative brand, and they're not a team that I had as potentially challenging for a grand final spot, but they're just really starting to make their way. Watch out for the Kings. Lovely work. What do we got next, mate?
So next up, my round 9 tips. So
the games. Now this is where I get a bit excited, mate, because and we've mentioned it, in Div 3 you cannot afford to drop one, mate. So I'll let you, you've got it, because this first one for me, this is game of the round. It's the Westminster game, is it? Is that the one you're doing first?
Yes.
Yeah, talk me through the Westminster game, and again, I've got a bit more mail on that one. So
for me, I had North Haven and Foss Camden as my game of the round, but back to Westminster and Pembroke. As you mentioned, Pembroke are very dangerous, 3-game winning streak, but Westminster, they're 7-1 with 14 points, so they're prime position to go up to Div 2, and I reckon they'll get the job done only just by 10 points.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's a great rematch that's going to happen, Westminster and Pembroke, from the Division 1 Grand Final just 2 years ago. Andrew Bradley, who was at PAC then, Tully Kennett, who was at Glenunga, will lock horns as probably the hit 2 player in the midfield. Whoever wins that battle may win the match. Westminster are just outstanding at the moment. They sit top. The other thing I want to talk about just quickly on Pembroke Kings is the Kennett brothers. It's so good to see 3 brothers playing together. Tully has joined his brothers at the Kings. Tully, of course, is the favourite. You know what it's like to be the favourite child. He's the favourite of Dad Steve. Dad Steve used to have to split his time between Pembroke and Glenunga, so he's absolutely wrapped that all 3 boys play together now. Can the Kennett boys lead Pembroke to a win? No.
Not for me and not for you. So North Haven and Foss Camden.
I like that you've called this game of the round, mate, of course, because it is 5th versus 3rd. It's huge.
And North Haven are 5-3, Foss are 6-2. At North Haven, this is going to be an absolute cracker game of round 9. I reckon Foss, they're just going to get the win by 5 points. They're coming up a big loss to Pembroke, 52 points, so they're going to be eager for a win.
Yeah, maybe, and I can't speak to their mindset, maybe took it a bit too easy. Pembroke are sneaking up on some people. They won't now. I've given them way too much airtime. But I agree with you, mate. I think Foss, I did tip them at the start of the year to be playing only in the grand final. And at this stage, they're making every post a winner.
Well, next up, we do have Unley. They are playing the Seaton Ramblers. Unley, man, they are very, very dangerous. Jake Sutcliffe leading their team with 26 goals. He's only one off Josh Holliday now. Man, he could overtake him quite easily. So Unley are 6-2, Seaton are 3-5. Unley, they should get the win. Not as comfortable as I would have thought, but I reckon they'll get the job done by 27 points.
I agree with you, mate. Just one thing, Seaton are 2-6, not 3-5. So that's all good. We'll keep going on that. I'm glad you got something wrong because you've been absolutely perfect till then. You're making me feel inadequate. Let's have a look. I agree with you as well, mate. Unley Mercedes should win and win well at home. They play their home ground well. What do you got next, mate?
Kilburn and Hope Valley. This is probably going to be the demolition of the round. Kilburn are going to add to their percentage and get the job done by 71.
Yeah, when Kilburn get on top of teams, they really do stick the fork in and twist. And that's why their percentage is so good. Kilburn with a win can jump back into 5 and they'll be absolutely keen for that. So I think they'll win and they'll win well, mate. I agree.
Yeah, so we'll wait to see for my grand final predictions. I got some big upsets in there, but the last game of round 9, Edwardstown and Scotch Old Collegians. Edwardstown, after the loss to Westminster, they're going to want to win, and they're going to win by 6 goals and jump up to equal 5th.
Yes, okay, now, mate, you've whet my appetite. You talked about grand final predictions, and I don't think there's a competition in the Adelaide Footy League where more teams would be sitting there right now going, right, is he going to say us? Because there's 7 teams that have all either been top or near top at different points this season. How do you see it unfolding?
The grand final for me, Unley and Kilburn.
Unley and Kilburn. Well, the chicks would love reading that. Now, at the start of the year, I always own my tips. I get plenty right and I get plenty wrong too. I had Unley Mercedes versus Foss. You know, you wouldn't be wrong to say that could be correct. But I'm actually going to jump off both of them, and I think now the grand final will be between Westminster and Pembroke.
Westminster and Pembroke, and Pembroke unfortunately aren't in my top 5 actually. I got this is not in order by the way.
That's how even the comp is. Give us your top 5, mate.
Not in order, Westminster, Unley, Foss Camden, Kilburn and Edwardstown.
So my top 5 at the end of the year, and this is dangerous to do this. I've got Westminster, Unley, Foss, Pembroke and Kilburn. So not necessarily in order, but it'll be interesting. Now, mate, you have been simply outstanding. Any shout outs maybe to that great man over there?
Yes, thank you, Darcy, behind the camera. Well
I was
done.
talking about your dad, actually. Keep going. That's very good TV, though. That's very good. Maybe shout out to your dad. Oh, what a great way to finish the Division 3 report. Darcy liked that one. Thanks for joining us, Alex. You'll be back in a few weeks to give us more Div 3 action. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more Between the Posts. And welcome to What Caught Our Eye. Oh, special effects galore. All right, it is great to have young Alex Kouts, my Div 3 specialist, with me today. We're going to start right off the bat. In Division 7 with you, Alex, what caught your eye?
In Division 7, they are one of 2 divisions who don't have a winless team.
How good is that? It's always good to know you can win a game of footy. Some of that, and you do feel for those clubs who haven't had a win yet this year. That's a great stat, Alex. Well done.
My stat was that Elizabeth have conceded the least amount across the entire division. I will give a shout out to Darcy because he gave me that one. But
Yeah.
There you go, across the entire division and the entire league as well.
Interesting to note they've conceded less in 8 games than what they did in 1 game last year.
Yeah.
You can make fun of it now, they're on top. We couldn't last year. And mine is Elizabeth based. It's that man. As I talk about all the time, we make big calls on this show. We get some right and we get some wrong. I said this young fella will win the goal kicking, which is a massive call. And on the weekend, he's kicked 10 goals. His name is Geordie Campbell from the Elizabeth Eagles. I've even got a photo of him that we're going to get up. He was the Central District's under-14 best and fairest. Very well coached, I might add. He's a young star. He's come across from Anglevale and he's doing good things. Congratulations. Anytime you kick a bag of 10, it's a good reason to have a couple of Kieran Hayaketsus. Hey, Alex, take us through. What have you got in Division 6?
So Division 6, Daniel Wettrock has 46 goals above round 9 and leads the comp and the league.
Yeah, not a bad one, is it? 46 off 8 games.
Yeah, not bad at all, because that's exactly what I had there, Alex. Well done.
Oh, did he? Oh, let me ask you this then, boys. Will he kick his 100? It's getting wetter now. It's getting a bit trickier. Will he get 100?
Yes.
No, finished with 75.
Oh, wow. You're right off him.
101.
101. Oh, I tend to stick with Alex. I think he's going to sneak the 100 in because he might get a final or 2 in there as well. He might just get there. And for me, in Div 6, what caught my eye is the ladder. Very unique. Houghton sitting 8th on 4 and 4. How can you be 4 and 4 with sitting 8th? Blackfriars sitting 3rd on 5 and 3. Now that is unique. And it gets even better, boys. I've got more. They play each other this week. 3rd plays 8th, 1 game apart. What a great game it'll be. It's at Houghton. I'm actually going to take 8th place to beat 3rd place. Houghton to knock off Blackfriars. Div 5, please, Alex Kouts.
Woody South beat Salisbury 1973 to 7-8-50. That was their first win of the year. That's adding on to the Div 5 don't have a winless team. Woody South are now off of that list.
Oh, big night would have been out of the Cattery. Well done to Woody South.
Yeah, Marion 2013. We really have to talk about this game here. Marion 2013, 133 to Greenacres, 1-5-11. Greenacres is still actually second on the ladder after that, and Marion's still first, but it really sends a massive message, doesn't it, there?
All I'll say is thank goodness I wasn't on last week's show because I would have tipped Greenacres. These were this was match of the year pretty much. Two undefeated teams coming in. Greenacres 1-5-11. How? I ask you, and well done. So for Marion, Stuart and Mitchell both kicked 4. Seb Farley was best on ground, and former Glenelg Junior Hudson Elkins doing very good things, playing good footy. Marion now are the hottest of red-hot favourites, you'd suggest.
Yeah, absolutely. They should go right up, and they probably should grab a premiership when they do it as well.
Quite potentially. Let's have a look at Div 4, please, AK47.
Walkerville with a 90-point win over Kenilworth, and they now sit 7-1.
He stole mine. It must be catching our eye. He's got some good stuff there, young AK.
Yeah, he does. I'm going to go down the other end of the ladder. Smosh still without a win, and Morford Park with the team that beat them. They finished second, and Plimpton, they are in second currently, and Plimpton in third have also won by 70 points. So the big three getting massive wins.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and just my Div 4, what caught my eye or our eye was following on from Alex's as Walkerville one. I was there Saturday morning. It's great to see the big new Sportal scoreboard. They've always had a horrible little scoreboard in the pocket that I couldn't see, but great things happening at the Walkerville Football Club, and the scoreboard looks an absolute treat. Too bad about the bloke standing underneath it. Div 3, please, Alex. This is your division. I'm expecting something special.
Being the Div 3 expert for me, this is a big one. Edwardstown, in 1 month, they've gone from first, dropping all the way down, to 7th. They went from 3-1 to now 4-4.
Yeah, there you go. I had the same thing again. So great minds thinking alike there, Alex.
Well, and for me, it's the 3 on the trot for the Pembroke Kings, beating the top-placed Foss Camden, 12-7-79 to Foss 4-6-30. McRoasty with 5. That's a pretty cool name. You can hear a lot more about that in Alex's Div 3 report. Division 2, please, young fella.
Tea Tree Gully, 12-16-88. Goodwood, 7-10-52. Tea Tree Gully are now top and 7-1.
Yeah, it's interesting. We thought Athelston were going to be unstoppable, but Tea Tree Gully have announced themselves, haven't they, boys?
Yeah, they absolutely have. Really here to challenge the Ruggies. Speaking of the Ruggies, though, they were defeated by Henley by 66 points, and the Marmalade boys will not be happy with me mentioning this, but Lockley's still yet to win. Yes.
Interestingly, I've got the same thing. It's their first loss for the year. Hannigan and Hill are the stars for Henley with 4 goals apiece. It was 8 goals to 1 in the last quarter. They broke it right open, but a really, really big win there for Henley. And top of the shop, what's happening in Division 1 for you, Alex Kouts?
Division 1, my favourite division. How about Port District beating your team, Salisbury North?
Oh, you were doing so good on this show till then. Is that funny stuff? Oh, you like that, did you, mate? Everyone's having a good time in here. Yeah, no, they were too good, Alex. Well spotted. It was a very good game of footy, but Port Districts are the real deal. Who's going to stop them?
Well, it won't be Broadview. They are 0-8. Pasco's got 31 goals for the season. Port District are 7-1, including 6 in a row. But you can catch more in the Division 1 report, can't you, Tommy?
You sure can. And I just want to give a shout out for new coach Sam Smith, supported by Macca, Riv and Abe Davis. A 38-point away win at Broadies as well. So Glenunga made some big changes. Been a tumultuous couple of weeks for them, but back on track, and congratulations to Sammy. That's been what caught our eye. Keep a lookout across all divisions. There's so much good stuff happening in the Adelaide Footy League. We'll be back next week with more what caught our eye on Between the Posts. Welcome back to Between the Posts. Now, it's fair to say, conditions on the weekend were atrocious for football, but that still didn't stop some great marks being taken. Let's have a look at this week's marks of the week.
Simons again, out wide. Pumps it in to the middle. Oh, big lead. Pumps it in to the middle. Oh, big lead. There's a mark of the day. I think it might.
Experience, some smart work at ground level. Great work there by Wagner. Geez, they're under the pump. There's plenty of ground work there by McKay. Lovely ball. They go out wide to Sharad. Difficult angle for Sharad. Will he look to square it up? He does. He's got one at the top of it. So goes towards Carter, one-hander. Lovely mark. Square it up. He does. He's got one at the top of it. So goes towards Carter, one-hander. Lovely mark. Prime position, body on body. Juxtaposition 101.
Adelaide Footy League fans, thanks so much for those that are sending them in because there's some beauties in here. Have a look at this week's goals of the week.
Punch forward further by McKenzie. Goes back in, gets it at the second attempt. Goes on the right, kick smothered. Bouncing around, how's it going to end up here? Taken by Sparkle. Now the opportunity. Schmidt, tackled. Viney. Viney's having a shot at goal. Viney looking for his third. Viney's having a shot at goal. Viney looking for his third. It is time for the last word, Lachie. Brought to us by Sapol. Thank you for keeping us safe, protecting the streets. And it's been another big week in footy, and it's going to be an even bigger one. Do you know where you are yet next week?
No, we should find out tonight. Shout out to Roll who organises all the fixtures.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. So let's go to our regular segment that we do in the last word, which is, of course, milestones, marriages, and mini-me. Now, you expect a few mini-me's to pop up soon from those grand final teams that won last year. You tend to find that you get a few babies around this time of year. Marriages, not so many of them in season, but we've got 3 milestones again this week. You can go first, mate.
Yeah, we certainly do. So Andrew Correa, 100 games at Brummer Lodge. Massive congratulations to him.
Apparently he can really play as well. Congratulations. And we got 2 from Greenacres. Firstly, Brody Baldock, 150 games, which gives him life membership to the league. That's awesome. But this is the big one for me. You don't see too many players get this one. 400 games to Brenton Stark. That is an outstanding achievement, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's incredible.
Yeah, no, well done.
Unfortunately, not the best weekend for Greenacres, but a couple of good milestones. Mate, we thank all our great sponsors. We wouldn't be here without them. And I thank you for the work you do. You're a very busy man doing all your reports and out there every Saturday. Are you enjoying Division 1?
I'm loving the BTR Excavations Division 1. Cannot wait for next Saturday, already chomping at the bit.
Very loaded question. I've been out, obviously, about every week. I've seen every team except Sacred Heart, and I cannot believe the standard of footy that's being played, even in the wet on the weekend. It is outstanding. If in doubt, check it out on our streams. You actually do a little segment where you can help people find the streams, so check them all out. Lachie, take us home, my friend.
Well, that is it from us on Between the Posts. We will see you next week for even more Between the Posts.